All right, looks like I'm live. I had a bit of a issue with my webcam just before I had to reboot. So hopefully it's working now. Got 3 folks already in. Looks like I'm live. We got why though? Thou? Is that how you pronounce that? So if anyone has any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask me whatever you like about guitars or amps or whatever. I'll try and answer some questions. I want to do this a little bit more coming up, maybe like every few days, just do a short 30-minute thing at different times of the day, just to connect with audience or the audience from all over the world, because everyone's in a different time zone. So this is literally roughly 8 hours after I did the one the other day. So it's a very different time of the day here, which means it's going to be a very different time somewhere else. I did see Dan mentioned it's 2 a.m. in Canada. I just typed in the world clock and had a look at all the different places, and I thought it's a very different time of the day to do this. So I thought, why not give this a go? So we've got Isaac Ord, how are you? Kenny B, Harry Emmett, Levi, is that how you pronounce it? Levy? I was about to say in Indiana. Slash Master says, have I heard of Westbury guitars made in Japan? Let me look them up. I haven't. Let's have a look here. All right, so there's a history page, which I'll paste into the chat here. You can check this out. Lots of text, so I'm not going to go reading that out right now, but I haven't heard of them, and it's something that I'm going to bookmark and come back to. So thanks for the heads up. I'll check into them. All right, so Philip Snowden asks, I'm just starting my pedalboard and need some advice on cables. In terms of patch cables, value for money, you can't go too wrong with Covenant cables. I'll type that in. I think they're probably arguably the best value for money, good quality cables. You can buy them online. Depends where you're from too. My suggestion is it's mostly about the connectors. The heat shrink stuff does nothing to protect the leads. It's just an added expense. So a lot of the time that doesn't really do a lot. You can save some money and get some good cables. It will, get stuff that's you can get under warranty as well. All right, so all right, I'm going to pop out this chat here. I'm already losing track of it on this little box. Let me move this across. So Scott says, have I tried the Boss Katana amps? I haven't tried them personally. A mate of mine's got the 100-watt one or the 50-watt one. And actually, it sounded pretty good last Sunday night when he had it out. Prior to that, though, I hadn't been too impressed with what I heard. But he didn't know how to dial it in. He was using the Brown sound live a lot, and it wasn't very good. It was very, very spiky on the tops. It was pretty nasty. But last Sunday, it actually sounded pretty awesome, I got to say. If you type in Yarra Valley TV, I think it's called, there'll be a video from last week of him using it, and it actually sounds pretty good. All right, so in terms of the cables, one thing to look for are Neutrik cables. I know I just swapped topics, so I just thought about that. If you can find Neutrik connectors, I should say on your jacks, Joe. All right, we've got Stephen from Seoul. How are you, man? We've got a question, MXR carbon copy or Boss DD7? The DD7 has more functionality and more options, but if you want a strict analog style delay, the carbon copy is hard to beat. I got to say, it's great. I would probably say the analog tone or the tone of the carbon copy would be better on analog mode. It would actually sound better, sorry, than the Boss on analog mode. I've got the Boss DD7. I love it. I think it's a great pedal. MXR carbon copy is one of my favorites. So you can't go too wrong with either. They're both pretty dead silent when you turn them on. They're very, very good. So my suggestion is if you ever want to have a digital delay or a modulation delay, even though some carbon copies have that button you can push, and the tap tempo function on the Boss is pretty cool too. So I would go with what's best for you. All right, so Chris Walter says, what's your Desert Island amp, pedal and guitar? Well, right now, you know, like I was obsessed with the Super Reverb for a long, long time. I actually sold it last week. A mate of mine's got it, and he totally makes it rock. So I love my Blues Deluxe. I think it's a great amp. That I still really like Deluxe reverbs as well. I'm not that fussy when it comes to like boutique amps and all that kind of stuff anymore. I've had a 2-Rock and a few other amps, but you know what? I'd love to try Supersonic 100. I got a little bit of gas for that at the moment, so we'll see how we go. In terms of pedal, I would take, if there was a band there as well, I'd take an overdrive. I'd definitely take the Royal Flush dual overdrive pedal. I love that thing. And the guitar would be my 52 Tally or my Little Crow. It'd be a hard choice. All right, so here's a good question. Harry says, what was my first ever guitar? First ever guitar was this old school acoustic. I'm looking over here because I thought it was in the corner over here, but it's not. It was a nylon string, not a Suzuki. It was something like that anyway. It was just one that I got when I was like 7 or 8, and then I didn't really. No, I was older than that. Sorry, about 10 or 11, and then I didn't play for a number of years until I hurt my back, and then I sort of picked it back up. My first electric guitar, which was a Squire with a gold. They were called Gold Series Squires. They had a little gold Squire logo on them. I don't know if that was the official name or not, but it was great. I ended up putting Texas Specials in there. I shouldn't have sold that, I should say. All right, so Philip was asking how much should he spend on cables. Don't go overboard. You know, you can get a decent guitar cable for under $40. Well, here anyway. The whole capacitance thing is true to some extent, but you'll find a lot of what you're paying for is marketing and a lot of BS when it comes to cables. So like I said, go to Covenant Cables. I think they're arguably the best value for money with what you get. And nice dude that owns the business. I'm not affiliated with them, or I don't receive kickbacks or anything. So, all right. Have I tried the Bondi Effects Sick As Overdrive? I haven't actually tried that. I was talking to the guy that makes them. He's from Sydney, obviously. Well, if you don't know, Bondi is in Sydney, in Australia, but he lives in, I'm going to say Nashville, maybe. I was going to do some demos of his stuff, but I guess it didn't come through for whatever reason. But I think it was a shipping thing maybe back then, but maybe I'll contact him again and see what we can do. He seemed like a nice guy. And I'm pretty sure he makes pretty awesome gear from what I understand too. All right, so I'm going to buy an Odessa bass from Gumtree for $150. I'm going to get it down. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Any advice on what I should look for in the bass to tell if it's good? I actually put a video up about the 9 things to look for when you go to buy a secondhand guitar. I would check that video out. It basically will cover what I look for when secondhand guitars, but a lot of those principles are still valid, I think, for a bass guitar. Affected 112 says, Shane, any thoughts on the Boss BD2? I think they're great. I think Boss pedals get they're just not cool looking, but in terms of tone, they're great. I've had a number of Boss pedals over the years. I've still got a few, and I think they're great. So for a neutral sounding overdrive, they're one of the best. That and the OD3 are the 2 Boss pedals I would say are kind of similar to each other, and both do really good things on a clean tone. Good for humbuckers too, those particular pedals. Did I have a Keeley one? Oh, no, I borrowed the modded one off a mate of mine. I never owned that. The mod didn't work. It broke. So I wouldn't waste my money getting the modded, man. I just use them as they are. The mod's probably going to make a few % difference. Whether different is better is subjective too. Ken says it's 2 a.m. in the state of Oregon. Would you rather have one boutique amp of your choice or a Kemper with infinite boot? All right, so I would never buy a Kemper amp. I would buy one good amp that responds well with all the pedals that I know and enjoy and have. Kempers don't work great for effects pedals. They do something very weird when you run them into it. I would 100% buy a great amp over a Kemper and make that your definitive sound. Unless you're a studio owner and you want all these different sounds, you can do it much, much cheaper than that as well. You're better off just buying some software. Seriously, like you're buying a digital amp. Whether or not, it's the Kempers have got a lot of voodoo about them, man. I don't know. My mate's got one. I mean, they sound good plugged into a PA system if you don't want to bring a speaker box. But for me, I wouldn't buy one of those ever. Can I use a Boss Turbo Overdrive for boosting an amp? Yeah, you probably could. You could probably try it with the gain down and just crank up the master volume on the pedal. Give that a go. Mate of mine's actually got the Turbo Overdrive. There's some okay sounds in there, but yeah, if you're playing bluesy style stuff, you probably want to turn the gain right back. It can get pretty full on. Stephen asks, how often do you refret any of your guitars? To be honest, I've only done one, and that was the 52 reissue, which I played to death. I find vintage frets that are smaller in height, and they're kind of like a softer, more malleable kind of material. They'll tend to wear out a whole lot faster than any other frets I've ever seen. So I'm in a position where I guess I haven't really owned too many guitars where I needed to have them refretted. My Strat that I used to have, that two-tone Sunburst one, I had the frets dressed, and it basically made them too small for me. I didn't like that after that. And they were on the point, that guitar was on the point where it needed a refret. I didn't like that guitar enough to want to go spending the $400 or whatever it is here to have it refretted. But I would say if your frets are really small and they're flattened out and a fret dress doesn't do anything, then get them done. I only get them done when I need to, and then after that I put stainless steel frets in, and what that will do is you'll never wear them out. So 6105s. All right, for a good blues tone, what gauge strings and brand would you suggest for a Fender FSR Ash Telecaster, of any Fender Telecaster for that matter? Look, brands of strings doesn't really matter too much. I would say don't go any smaller than like 10 to 46. Most people that play teles use 10 to 46. That seems to be the majority of people will go that way. I play 11s to 48, I think 48 or 49 or something like that, the Diodarios. But I literally buy whatever strings I can get in a 10-pack and whatever's the best value. I don't really think string brand makes a huge difference to tone. Although I got to say that something about the Fender Bullet strings are actually not bad as well. I never used to like them, but every time I buy a guitar, those particular strings sound brighter. I don't know if it's got to do with the bullet part thing at the end or what, but just get whatever's cheapest and best value for multiple strings. Don't ever buy one set of electric guitar strings if you can help it, and make sure that each pack in the box is sealed, like completely sealed. All right. Devian says, Shane, love the vids on the PV Bandit and Studio Pro. What's the best value distortion pedal to run with the Studio Pro? In terms of distortion and value for money, you got a sea of Chinese pedals, man. the world is your oyster. So my suggestion would be just, if you're after a small, like a micro pedal, I got plenty of demos on those from all kinds of brands. The Movall stuff, is good. Tone City, same thing. They're good. The Kalen stuff is good. I'm just trying to think of what else is out there. There's literally like hundreds of brands of cheap pedals. Another great one is Bai Yang. It sounds kind of ridiculous, but they make some really good stuff. All right, so Quicksilver says, "Is a long weekend in Australia?" It is. It's a long weekend for me every week at the moment, but I say that I was working pretty much non-stop until I finished this. I'll finish it till I started this. I'm pretty exhausted actually. I got a coffee, which I don't normally do. So if I'm skipping or slipping up on my words, I apologize. I missed a question. Someone said, what 5 pedals would you have on your board? Tuner, 2 overdrive pedals, tremolo or modulation pedal, and a delay, analog style delay. That's it. Tuner, most important one. Get one of those. Don't rely on those clip-on ones. Clip-ons are good, but you might find that you'll either lose them or the battery will run out or whatever. Get a proper tuner. Doesn't matter what it is. And for me, like, brand doesn't matter either. So plenty, you could get just the same sounds out of cheap pedals these days as you can out of boutique stuff on the most part. Within reason. Just generic stuff like tube screamers and all that. What do I think of the Boss FBM1 pedal? I don't know that one. Hang on. Boss FBM1 pedal. Oh, the Bassman pedal is actually pretty good. A mate of mine's got one, and he uses it as an overdrive pedal, and it totally rocks. I have demoed that ages ago. The demo was pretty bad, I think, back in the early days, maybe 2008 or 9 or somewhere. And the Bassman pedal is actually, I think I did 2 demos of that. That particular pedal, it sounds better than a Bassman. Like, you can use it just as a distortion or overdrive pedal and get that kind of vibe. So Bassmans are good amps. I just think you have to really crank the crap out of them before they start to sound pleasing. Otherwise, as Greg Koch would say, it's like a blizzard of nails. So we've got 650 Thunderbird. How are you, man? We've got Michael from Poland. But Geraldine, she asks, have I ever played a Marshall Blues Breaker? No. A mate of mine's got one. Haven't played one live, but I've heard it a few times. Christian asks, you own a Bugera V5? Yeah, it's on the floor right here. Do you think it's loud enough for a small pub gig? If you've got a drummer and a bass player, no. If he's playing with brushes and you really have to watch the volume, 5-watt mode should actually be all right. But I would suggest if you plan on using that amp for a gig, I would absolutely mic it up. No two ways about it. Or it has a headphone jack thing. That's the last resort on the way back. All right. Do you have a recommendation for a single coil pickups that is not boring? I'm not sure in what regards your question is. Like, I don't get the context of it. I apologize. I've got Harry from England. How are you, man? Amit Sapir says, do you have, oh, that's the same question. Sorry, it's scrolling. Yeah, Tube Screamer Mini, says Joel. That's a great little pedal. Wings of Horror says, Y2 overdrive pedals. It's good for stacking. You take your solo up and then take it up again, or have 2 different flavors. That's just the way I prefer to run it. Look, running your amp hot is always awesome, but it's not always, you can't always do that as much as you would like to. So Some venues you can't crank it up. That's why 2 overdrive pedals really works well. And by the way, folks, we've got like 70 people watching here right now. If you can, give the video the thumbs up, and I appreciate that. That'd be awesome. We'll keep these rolling. So you should be able to do it even on a phone. I know a lot of people watch on a phone. All right, so Fender Super Champ XD is good for home use. It is. It's a good little amp. All right, so Nimrod says, hey, Shane, I own a Fender Mustang 2. Is it worth upgrading to a Mustang 3 or another amp just for a non-serious player? If you're playing live, the Mustang 3 is much, much better than the Mustang 2 in terms of volume. It's actually like a gigging amp. You can use it live. As in terms of if you're just playing at home, I probably wouldn't bother. And my suggestion, as I always say to folks, you know, if you're going to buy a new amp, take your old one in. I've made that mistake where I went to get an amp. I thought, yeah, this is awesome. And then I get it home and my old one killed it. So do that when you go in and make sure that you're happy with whatever you go to buy if you try to buy something else. The clip-on Polytune is also over $100, so that alone prevents you from losing it. Yeah, but I haven't got my pedal board out here. But I bet you it's not as unlosable, is that even a word, as the Boss TU2, man. Love that thing. It's like a brick. It's a brick with an input and output. It's fantastic. All right, so Mikhail says, I own a T-Rex Mab drive, well-made tube screamer variation. Cool. T-Rex make awesome stuff. That's sort of like some of the top of the line gear for those who don't know. T-Rex, some of their reverbs and that are like mind-blowingly good. All right, so John says, have I tried a Marshall Vintage Modern 50-watt combo? We tried some at a shop, I'm pretty sure. I want to just make sure I'm looking at the right ones. All right, no, these aren't the ones. Sorry. Brian and I went and tried some of the new Marshalls. They come in all these different colors. They kind of look old school, blue and green and all that kind of stuff, and they weren't loud enough. This particular amp, which I'm just looking at, I haven't tried. So if I get a chance to try one, I will. Hey, we've got Ahmad Kareem, who's up ridiculously early in Texas. Hey, Shane, just getting to work. Man, what time is it there? What time in Texas? I didn't expect to see anyone I knew from the regular 4:39 a.m. Wow, crazy stuff. Hi, so I'm not sure how to pronounce this name. I think it's Brecht. Says, hey, Shane, fellow lefty here. Have you ever regretted playing lefty? Not at all. I think it'd be like trying to write with your opposite hand. Why fight it? You know, there's guys out there who are some of the best in the world. Clapton's left-handed. Mark Knopfler's left-handed. They play right-handed. So I guess if you've just started out, it could go either way. But I always tell people, which way do you air guitar? You know, if you air guitar that way, go with it. Don't fight it. You might find it may limit your coordination to some extent. It might not. Not that bloody Clapton and Knopfler have coordination issues, but you know what I mean. So John says he loves the OCD pedal. It's a beast, absolute beast. Bear with me, guys. Oh, here's a good point. Perth Guitar says, are multi-effects like the Boss ME80 really that bad? I don't seem to get any love for them. Basically, the flexibility and economic benefits stand out. And that's what it's all about. Look, the guitar community, and I don't mean the people watching this video, but the snobs, I'll put that in quotations, that's what gives stuff the bad name. A lot of people don't actually go out and try stuff. They'll just badmouth it because it's another this or it's another that. And they do that. That bias exists in music gear more than almost anywhere. Like when I first bought the Mustang, a lot of my friends were like, why the hell did you buy that? Like, what are you thinking? Is it like a toy amp? Yeah, right. I dialed in some killer tones with that. So what I always say to folks is, if it works and it's it does what you need it to do. Don't get sucked into the gear thing. Just use what you got. Make the most out of it. You know, I honestly think some digital effects don't sound as good, but I honestly think some digital effects sound even better. And I think what can let certain digital products down is their drives. Their delays and all that are fantastic. But it's getting so good now that they really just dial them in great. So while I haven't tried that particular pedal before, the ME25 or the other one that you mentioned, I'm sure you can get some great tones out of it. Boss don't make a whole lot of junk, and I'm not a Boss fanboy either. Just stating the facts. All right, so Amit says there's some new Fender Mustangs coming. I heard about that. I need to turn my VPN on and my VPN, and hit up the Fender American website where the prices are good and they've got all the stuff listed. So my urban exploration says, is that a Vox or a heater behind your shoulder? Yeah, it's a heater. Actually, it's getting kind of warm in here now. But yeah, it's getting cold now. At night, it sucks. My place is like a tomb. Everybody off work being Good Friday? Yeah, most of the shops weren't open, all that kind of stuff. Ahmad says he has a vintage modern. I dig it. Cool, man. Oh, check him out. Thanks for the heads up on those. I appreciate that. Ever played an Ibanez TSA 15H Tube Screamer head? I have. I actually don't mind them. I was very, very close to buying them. I saw one on... there was one on sale at a shop. I think it didn't have reverb from memory. I like a bit of reverb. It's not a big thing for me to... I could run a pedal, but there's something about onboard reverb, unless there's an effects loop, which I didn't check, that is really cool. So for me, anyway. All right, what's a cheapish... Thunderbird asks, what's a cheapest TS pedal to go in an old Marshall Valve State 8080 combo with only the clean channel still working, looking for a bluesy sound? You know what? Get it. I think, I'm not sure. Are you in Australia? I can't remember, man. Sorry, it's hard to keep track of everybody. Look up the Delta Labs pedals if you're in the US, because they're like $40 and they're great. I've had one since 2010 and it's still going strong. If you're in Australia, maybe try. Oh man, there's so many cheap tube screamers out there. There really are, and copies of them as well. So I would just suggest any of them will be good. Even some of the Eno pedals are pretty decent, and they clone the tube screamers as well. All right. DMS Production says he doesn't like Fords. They're not all bad. I like their trucks. I got to drive one of them while I was in the States once. Yeah, Good Friday. Oh, I just lost some stuff I was going to read there. Sorry, guys. The chat is flying along. For those who just joined too, just if you can, give the video a thumbs up. Appreciate that. We're going to try and do more of these live streams in between other videos and different times of the day, and it's always appreciative. All right, we've got all right. Sagi, I think that's how you pronounce it. Sagi says I don't really follow his guitar products up in a shop. Actually, there were two lefties in there, actually. I picked them both up, and they weighed more than my old gold top, so I put them back down. I think that issue's been addressed. Mikael says, how many guitars do I own? I think I'm down to like 5. I've got Strat, Tally, Little Crow guitar, 335, Les Paul. There's a bass count? Nah. And I've got a nylon string, like a 60-year-old nylon string Suzuki. That's it. I sold my acoustic, and I don't have my gold top anymore. And that's it. I've got kind of like one of each style. And that seems to be about enough, pretty much. Snipe Central says, when did I start playing guitar? And do I have my very first guitar? I do have my very first acoustic guitar still. It's a little 3/4 size or half size nylon string. I actually started in primary school around grade 6 or 6th grade. And basically I put it down for like 10 years after that, give or take. So I learned like D, E, A, and whatever else, and then I just didn't play. And then I bought a Samick acoustic guitar after that. And then after that, I got my first Squire electric guitar, and then it was all like electric guitar rocks. All right. I saw a Stop No Name says, hey mate, you're on my TV in my lounge room. I should have used my high def camera then. I apologize for that. This is just the webcam on the Mac. Mustang was the best sounding modeling amp in the price range in all the comparison reviews and other videos I've watched. Yeah, they're unreal, man. Like, and you can use them live. That's the thing. Like a lot of modeling amps are really just designed for people at home. And I guess to some extent you can use the Mustangs at home, but the fact is that you can use them out live. They're light and they're loud. They're pretty cool. All right, here's a good question. Marcelo says, what do I think about the Fender Bass Breaker 15? It's the best 15-watt Fender amp that they've ever made. I would take that over anything that they've got within 15 watts or less. The Bass Breaker is great. I really like it on the middle setting and the gain. So there's 3 gain controls. The second one plays itself. You don't even need an overdrive pedal. It's really, really great. I got asked if I'm heading to GTs tonight from DMS. I'm not, man. No, I'll maybe in a few more weeks. So I got to get Stop No Names back on board with the jams. All right. My urban exploration says he wasn't 100% sure because of my lo-fi computer camera if that was an amp or a heater. That's hilarious. That's awesome. I guess I could see how that could get confusing, especially if you're watching on a phone too. Here's a good question. Let me know if you're on a computer or a phone. Just type in either phone or PC or whatever, if you don't mind, if you can be bothered. I like to see how many people are actually watching on whatever device. That's always fun. Ken says, have I tried a Quilter amp? You know what? I was supposed to demo one of those tone blocks, and every 3 months I get a call saying, yeah, we're about to send you one down and you can do some demos of it. Not 3 months went by, get another call. Hey, yeah, we got one ready. I'll send it down for you. And after the 3rd or 4th time, a year went by, and no is the answer. But I tell you what, I'm actually pretty keen. I know these are getting mixed reviews or mixed criticism, but I'm really keen to try those really small Vox amps that have come out. I reckon that might be where it's at. But the Quilter stuff isn't bad. A guy at the jam night I go to from time to time, he has a 210 Quilter, and it cuts the mix fine. Cuts the mix fine. All right, so D says, in your Tone City King of Blues demo, you said the right side of the pedal sounds like a tube screamer. In your opinion, what is the left side of the pedal like? I basically just mentioned it just sounds like a transparent overdrive. I didn't really sort of feel like it sounded too dissimilar to the right side, only it had more top end. So it's like a less mid-humped version of the right side, but has a little bit more tops. Ahmad says, Marshall stopped making the vintage modern amps a few years ago, and they're hard to find. They pop up from time to time, but the combos are even harder to find. Okay, cool. I didn't know that. BV Ninja, welcome, man. How you doing? He says, try an Ibanez mini tube screamer. Great sound at a good price. I should get one of those, actually, even though I've only got I've got 3 tube screamer type pedals at the moment. Can always use another tube screamer. Yeah, with that King of Blues, I remember I gave Jimmy a list of things that I thought would do well in pedals. And he said, they basically asked me, like, what can we do to make, you know, what else can we do? And I gave him a huge list. I could probably dig that email up. And one of my suggestions was try a couple of dual pedals with this and this and this and that. So I'm not saying I'm responsible for that, but I have a feeling it may have influenced, those pedals coming out. They're actually pretty good. You know, I had a bit of a hard time dealing with Tone City. I was the first guy that had them on a website, and dealing with them was like pulling teeth. It was just, they weren't very trustful, and I don't like throwing money around. And that aside, they make really great pedals, and I have to sort of, I'm like, it sort of annoys me that they make great stuff, but there's this distrust dealing with them. At least that's what I experienced. I was the first guy helping them with everything. Anyway, enough of that. Your question still doesn't make sense. You're asking me, what single coil do I recommend for a Strat that's not boring? I can't answer your question. Just basically find a video of a pickup that you like the sound of, because what I like and what you like might be 2 completely different things. One question: how do you get your guitars set up, by a tech or yourself? The white Strat that I purchased recently, I did myself, and it played great. Actually, all I had to do was slightly bring up the little saddles where the strings go around the bridge on a couple of strings, because I put heavier strings on there, and that was it. It played great. I also did my Tokai Love Rock guitar that I play in my videos, the Les Paul style one. I haven't had a guitar set up by someone else for a while now. Plenty of great videos out there on how to do this stuff too. Best tele for $500, new or used? Man, I'm not exactly sure where you are, Tom, but you know, I still stand by the classic vibe stuff. I think they're really good value for what you get, and great tone. There's a lot of good Japanese Fender guitars you could find for $500. It would be as good as anything else. You could probably get, even if you're in the US, you could probably get a new good Mexican tele for that price. That would probably be my suggestions in terms of that. Look, you might, if you get really lucky, you might be able to find a G&L cheap somewhere, maybe. But yeah, that's pretty much it on suggestions. Harry says, I have an original Vox VT20. I can't really decide if it's good or not. I would say if you go into a store with it and compare it to something else and you don't like it, then get something else. I don't know. I don't know much about the Vox VT20, so I think they're like practice amps. So for home, probably will do the job. All right. So thanks for answering the PC or tablet or phone thing. Wow. Cool. So yeah, looks almost 50-50 between I put iPads and phones in the same category. Okay, cool. Very cool. Thanks, guys. Did I ever try an Epiphone Dot Studio semi-hollow body guitar? What did I think of them? I played one exclusively for 5+ years. That's all I ever played was an Epiphone Dot. The day came where I upgraded that to the Gibson, and I shouldn't have. That Epiphone Dot I had years ago, I had great. It played great. It looked good. It sounded awesome. They're really good guitars. I think they're brighter than a lot of Gibsons in terms of tone, which is a good thing. I think a lot of Gibsons, in terms of 335s, can be a bit too muddy. I had one that was just awful. You couldn't get a good sound out of it no matter how many amps you put it through. And then I got my Tokai, and it was like my Epiphone all over again. So Epiphone dots are great. I can highly recommend them, but like anything, go play them if you can before you buy anything. Here's a good question. Snipe Central says, Shane, what's your opinion on playing blues on a guitar that's mainly designed for metal genres? Smashing out a BB King solo on an ESP Explorer style guitar. Look, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't look. You can play blues on any instrument. I think the classic tones might relate to certain type of guitars, or certain, I think it's almost more of a looks thing. I couldn't imagine Tommy Castro or Eric Clapton coming out with a ESP, so anything with Jackson guitar with pointy edges. It just doesn't sort of fit the mood of what they play. And it's maybe more of a visual element than a tone thing. But I tell you what, if you don't have active pickups, you can get a great sound out of anything. I mean, look at Albert King. He played a flying V there, sort of synonymous now with heavier music. Guys like, even Tommy Castro now plays a Firebird, which I guess there's other guys that have played them before as well. But yeah, look, you can do it, man. Go for it. It would look funny. I guess that would be what it comes down to. Anything with active pickups probably isn't a good blues guitar. Oh, got Stephen Woodhouse says he's watching on the TV app. Cool. Awesome. Rob asks, SG or Les Paul? I find Les Paul's a little bit more comfortable in terms of where they sit on my body and where reference points are in relation to where your hand is. I find SG's a little confusing to play. I love the sound of them. I love the look of them. I just find like not being able to get all the way to the end throws me. There's something about that. And a lot of them are neck heavy. So if you let go of it, it wants to tip. So, all right, so Stop No Name says his new Tally is awesome with Into the Bandit, and he put some Mick Briley pickups in there, which are what's in my Little Crow guitar. So glad you're enjoying that, man. That's cool. I can't wait to hear it. John says he was lucky enough to get a vintage modern Hendrix Greenback Celestians 212, 50-watt purple Tolex covered. Man, that's a mouthful. All right, let me just check something here, folks. I just want to make sure how are we going for time? This is the thing with the live stream. When we get 80 people in here, man, I lose track. I lose track of time, but I'll stick around for a bit longer. I was trying to do only 30-minute blocks, but it's really quite tough to only do 30 minutes sometimes. Either the explanations take a while or, yeah, it's just there's just questions that roll in that are good. All right, just let me load this page up, guys. I'll just be 1 sec. Just want to see how long I've been streaming. I'm not going to cut it right off now, but didn't work. All right, anyway, doesn't matter. What do I think of Supro gear? You know what? This is from Harry. Supro amps, I love. I think they're really awesome. The Royal Reverb is still one of my top 3 amps I've tried ever. And their guitars, I haven't been able to play a lefty, but I really dig the look of them. I think Supro stuff looks amazing. So, all right, my Epiphone Sheridan 2 Pro is out of my cold, dead hands guitar. Yeah, Sheridan 2 guitars are fantastic. I really made the mistake of getting a Gibson based on its name when I should have bought a Sheraton 2. When I was in the store trying both, the Sheraton 2 felt and played and sounded better. But I still bought the Gibson, and that was a huge mistake. That was a really expensive lesson. So Freddie Fretz just got a Tokai ES148. Fantastic. Awesome stuff, man. Congrats. That's awesome. Let me know if you're in Australia too, Freddie. DMS Production says, Daz, Mr. Fab makes great pickups too, and he is local. Awesome. Mick Briley's an Australian guy as well. I think he's based in Adelaide from memory. I could be wrong. But yeah, there's lots of good local builders and all that kind of stuff. What's my opinion on compressors? I love using them when I'm mixing albums. Nah, look, I don't. I played a compressor that I actually liked last Sunday. I've never really, I've taken compressors out and I've never really felt like they felt right when I was playing live. There's something about not having dynamics in your sound that I don't normally like, but running it into an overdrive pedal sounded magnificent. So I guess if it's not getting too squishy, it was pretty cool. And I also liked playing clean with one on as well, which was surprising because I was playing a friend of mine's rig and I clicked everything on just to see what each of the things did. And I was like, oh, that compressor is really musical. Like it doesn't feel like all your dynamics were gone in some ways. It was pretty cool. It felt pretty cool to play. But I don't have one on my board. I might try it again. I got a Wampler Ego compressor and it's small. So maybe I'll give it a run at some stage. Isaac says you can't imagine Buddy Guy with a BC Rich Warlock. Good stuff. Troopers here. How are you, man? Says at last I have you live. Feel free to ask me any questions. I've been on for a while, so I probably in the next, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, probably wrap it up. Have I ever tried a Squier Bass 6? I haven't tried that particular one. I used to own a PJ Squier Bass. It was awesome. I sold it out of necessity, like back, this was years ago. Squier basses are fantastic. I reckon that's all you really need. Regarding lefties, does it make a huge difference to flip a righty guitar? In terms of intonation and all that kind of stuff, you can set them up. You may need to flip the nut as well or have another one put in, just depending on the guitar. What I find the most problematic is if you're strumming, you'll knock the volume controls and you'll turn yourself down a lot, depending on the type of the guitar. I see people that do it. I just think there's enough options now where, still not enough, but there's plenty of options out there in terms of lefties that you can just generally find something like what you want. Freddie Fritz says he's just down the road from me. I bought a Mustang amp off you. Oh, there you go. Cool. So, well, yeah, cool. Was it the 3 or the 4? You into the Rose Tattoo Band? Not really. I know some of their stuff, but yeah, I would probably say I don't know enough of their music. All right. All right. Wow, man, scrolls fast. John says Jap Strats and Teles are underrated. Yeah, they are. I tell you what, if you haven't seen my last Guitar Search Saturday, go check it out. It's like Japanese guitar heaven. I saw some stuff in there. If I was right-handed, I wouldn't shop anywhere else. It was awesome. Just the whole place was just full of great gear. And yeah, I don't know, man. I'm really like borderline about buying any other type of guitars other than Japanese stuff now. Just seeing how, you know, people saw that Fender video I put up, obviously, or a lot of people did. It's the largest video of the year for me so far, which was insane. Like I didn't think twice about it when I was recording it, and it went off. And yeah, it's even more of a reason for me now not to buy new when it comes to guitars. I can go to the swap shop or wherever and find a great Japanese instrument. Like and not struggle. So, all right. And financially, it makes more sense as well. If you hear me go quiet from time to time, I'm like reading the chat as well as doing other things here. So, what's the best fuzz pedal you've ever tried? I have the Big Muff PI. Look, one of the best ones I ever played, and brand aside, was the Moen Fuzz Moo. I love that thing. I reckon that's one of the best fuzz pedals ever. I think it's based on a Big Muff, but that particular one is pretty cool. Toy Room Guitar Effects make a lot of really great fuzzes as well. Fuzz pedals. The Charlie one wasn't bad. Look, when I did that demo, I must have clicked up the treble boost on my amp, because with it down, it sounds way better. I might shoot that guy another video, because that's actually a really good fuzz. I think it sounds pretty good. All right, Daz says, yeah, Mick Briley is from Adelaide. Cool. All right. Black. Yeah, Star 5s are like, they're good little practice amps. All right, what about the Epiphone Les Paul Studio? What sort of name have they? Are they any good? Look, to be honest, I haven't played an Epiphone Les Paul Studio. I've seen some, the ones that are like bare bone finishes, and I think they only have like one volume and one tone control, which they should all have. But yeah, look, I'm sure they're pretty cool. So Daz asks, have I ever been to the Heidelberg Tokai warehouse? Yeah, I have. I've been to the distributor out there. I bought the SG that I had and that other Les Paul, the Chinese ones, from them, and I got a great price, so it was pretty cool. CM McCullen says, or Kilcullen says, thanks for your comments on the Epi. No worries, man. Do I know Philip Sace? No. Amp or pedal distortion? Man, that is the question. That's a good question. That's from Simon. If you own a Fender and it's not a supersonic, then you'll be buying a pedal. If you own a Marshall or a Boogie, then probably amp. It just depends on the amp. If it's a clean channel amp, like renowned as a clean channel amp, you'll just use pedals. Yeah, it just depends on what you buy. All right, so what speakers does it have? I'm not sure what that's in relation to. Sorry, I might have missed part of that question. Mikkel says John Mayer or Joe Bonamassa. Look, as a guitar player, I like John Mayer more, but I don't like his new music at all. I think it's more of the same old crap, pop stuff that isn't very musical. Hopefully no one unsubscribes for me saying that, but it just feels like it's been done before, and I kind of miss his good guitar playing. I'm not so much into the pretty boy pop. It's sort of like a slap in the face for musos. But he's appealing to the masses and his teenage audience or whatever, so good on him. I think Joe Bonamassa can do stuff on guitar that Mayer couldn't. You see his acoustic stuff, for example. It's pretty crazy. Who did you say was your biggest guitar player influence? Albert King and Clapton. I'd say between those two guys, that was pretty much the guys I liked the most. I liked B.B. King, but I never liked him as much as Clapton or Albert. Albert King's just, he's got the meat and potatoes of blues guitar playing. Shane, what's the best practice amp or valve amp for classic rock? You probably want to find something that has a drive channel built in. So maybe try some Black Star stuff, or 5-watt Marshall amps. Maybe you might be able to get away with something like that. I wouldn't buy an amp over 5 watts for playing at home. I just think that's anything more than that is too much. You might even want an amp that you can switch down from 5 watts to something else. Here's a good question from Theory Fatalities: is PV Classic 30 or Hughes and Kettner? I hate Hughes and Kettner amps, and I don't mean to upset anybody, but there's a top end in those amps you just can't get rid of. They're like, there's this brittle high-end note that always follows your notes, and you can do whatever you want to those things. When you turn them up loud, they sound awful. I would take the Classic 30. If it was me and I had a choice of a Classic 30 or a Delta Blues, I'd buy a Delta Blues. I think the Delta Blues have more character, even though they got some issues with their crappy reverb. Overall, I think that the Classic 30 is a better rock and roll amp than the Delta Blues. If you're playing blues, get the Delta Blues, if that makes any sense. Ahmad says, I think I'm done buying new guitars. You save so much money on the used market. Absolutely. 2014 American Standard FSR Stratocaster V-neck in Mystic Sunburst, new, $13.99, used on eBay, $800. Yeah, and you don't pay tax. So how can you go wrong? Well, secondhand in the US, you don't pay tax. You don't pay tax. Tax is included here, but yeah, anyway. Yeah, that's exactly right. I think the secondhand market is definitely where it's at. Well, try putting stuff together yourself as well, maybe if you're that way inclined, or you got some space to do it. White Stripes or Black Keys? You know what? I don't really listen to either. I know of them, and I have listened to them a little bit, but I'm on the fence there, man. Simon says he's just got a Simon says, there you go. You probably get that a lot. Sorry. Just got a Caitlin Bread Dirty Little Secret. It's amazing. Like a second channel. Have you ever tried this stuff? I haven't. I hear they're great. I might have to check into some of their stuff. I might do that. Do you call David Gilmour blues? Nah, not really. He's kind of a little bit out. I mean, I wouldn't call him like what's the word? He's more melodic than he is blues, if that makes sense. Virtual Life says you never saw the hoopla about Clapton. I guess you got to listen to his 90s blues stuff. Everybody says his old stuff's the best. It's not. Listen to his 90s blues. He can sing his ass off. And that From the Cradle album and that the From the Cradle tour, punch in any of that stuff into YouTube, you'll just go, okay, he can seriously play. All right. Better off going with a, oh, okay, sorry, that's not a question. Do I have any software such as Guitar Rig? I do. I have a whole lot of that sort of stuff. You know what? I don't use it only because I've got a load box at the moment, like a 2 Notes Torpedo load box. But that said, I just got the new, it's number 4. I can't think of what it's called off the top of my head. I just installed it. Is it Guitar Rig? Is that what it's called? It might be something else. But anyway, I'm supposed to do a demo of that coming up at some point, but I had some trouble getting it to run. So I tell you what, anyone who's in the chat right now, sorry, actually, I'll finish my thought for Greg. Some of that stuff's great, and I've got 2 pieces of software. One I did a demo for, actually, and I can't think of its name. I haven't used it in ages, and names are horrible. So anyone in the chat who can answer Amit's question of, can you recommend a single coil pickup for a Strat style guitar that's not boring, more edgy? Feel free to answer him, because I don't know how to answer that question. And you've written it about 45 times. So folks, any suggestions on how to answer that is all good. I told you it's all personal choice, man. I can't give you an answer, but feel free to. Bias amp. That's what I've got. Thanks for RKL. All right. Seen that question 45 times. I've put him on a timeout. All right. Yeah, Isaac says he likes Clapton's Cream Days the best. Yeah, I mean, that stuff's cool. I just think his voice got much, much better, and his acoustic stuff is pretty cool too. What's a good place to buy lengths of cable and make your own leads? I'd probably say online. I don't think a lot of shops sell that sort of stuff. So maybe just see if you can find a kit. There's plenty of companies that make kits. Just go for one that's actually a decent, you know, you've heard of the brand. They're a good cable company. Yeah, Eric Clapton sure doesn't mean Robert Johnson. Yeah, I mean, look, that's the thing. He's great at that sort of stuff. And I reckon it's all like, I don't like Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know, and as a blues player, everyone loves Stevie Ray Vaughan, but I don't think, you know, as great a guitar player as he is, I can't listen to him for very long. I just find it too much, kind of. And I like Clapton's voice a whole lot more, but it's one of those things where I'll take Tommy Castro over either of those two guys or Chris Kane, but it's just one of those things. It's all personal taste. Whatever I like is fine, and whatever you like is fine. So no one's right or wrong when it comes to this sort of stuff. What do I think about Behringer pedals? I think some of their stock plastic ones are really great. I used to use them. The green pedal they make is really good. Virtualize says he doesn't get guys like him at why spam / troll to get blocked. I don't know, man. It doesn't bother me. It's easy just to give him a timeout. It's only 3 minutes, but if it keeps up, I can kick him. Yeah, it just the question doesn't make sense. You know, like I can't. What's the best color? But you know, it doesn't make any sense. Thumbs up to SRV and Castro. Yeah, man. I am getting tired, actually. I've been to the gym too, so I'm fried. All right. There we go. So if Amit comes back and he asks the same question after not reading everybody else's replies, then see you later. So thanks, folks, for all the suggestions there. I appreciate that. All right. I reckon I might hit the road. If you haven't given the video the thumbs up, please do, folks. Appreciate that. It's always good to have everybody hang out and chat. I hope you get some value out of this, and yeah, we all get something. You know, it's good for me to do this and answer questions for folks and meet all the new subscribers, and we always get a lot of loyal subscribers too. That's the great thing about live streams. We get just a lot of familiar faces coming back, and that's cool. All right, well, I might go crash for a while and relax. So, yeah, thanks everybody, and if you know, have a great Easter, and if you get some time off, I know Ahmad's working, but if you get some time off, yeah, you know, enjoy it, be safe, and yeah, rock on. Well, blues on, I should say. All right, folks, we've got hello from Cyprus. Wow, how are you, man? Thanks for stopping by, and yeah, we'll catch you all soon. Happy Easter, and see you on the next one. We're going to do a live Google Plus Hangout on Monday. It might get bumped back to Tuesday my time, which is a day before in the US, but I've got one scheduled. It's already listed, so yeah, we're going to do a hangout with the guys. Now, this Google Plus Hangout will be ending pretty soon. They're discontinuing it, so it might be the last hangout officially until whatever new system's in place, which I can't even see on the control panel here. So, all right, folks, rock on, and yeah, have a great day. Appreciate everybody stopping by. Catch you soon.